This is Optimal Finance Daily, episode 1338, When You Don't Want to Retire, by Dawn Starks of SimpleMoneyPro.com. And I'm your host and personal finance enthusiast, Diana Merriam. This is the show where I narrate posts from thought leaders in personal finance every single day of the year, in 10 minutes or less. We cover so much on this show, from saving to investing to debt reduction and more. Today, we're going to be talking about the need to strive towards financial independence, even if you don't have the desire to retire. If you didn't know, we have 6 podcasts in our network covering a bunch of different topics, so check them all out. Just search for Optimal Living Daily wherever you're hearing this, and be sure to subscribe to get new episodes automatically. But for now, let's get to today's post as we optimize your life. When You Don't Want to Retire, by Dawn Starks of SimpleMoneyPro.com. Have you planned well for your retirement? Some answer that question this way: "Oh, I love my work and I don't ever plan to retire." That may well be true, but what if you change your mind? Or what if something happens in your life preventing you from working well into your 70s and beyond? Don't neglect to plan just because you think your goal is that you'll work forever. What you need is a plan, not for retirement, but for financial independence. Take me, for example. I've always thought I would never retire. I love being a financial planner, and I figured I would do that work forever. But 3 years ago, the stress of the job started to catch up with me. I decided I need some contingency plans. While I've been saving all along for retirement, what I needed was a mind shift to start thinking about what if. The computation for financial independence is the same as for retirement planning. The goal is to establish how much you must save for an adequate pot of money someday in the future. That pot of money should spin off enough income to cover all your expenses. Whether you retire and no longer work or decide to continue working, you will have your bases covered. Living expenses are the key metric. The key metric to plan for retirement or financial independence is the amount you need for living expenses. It's easy to get caught up in rates of return and what investments to use, but the number that moves the dial, for better or worse, is how much you spend. That should be easy, right? It isn't easy. If you're in your 40s now, how on earth are you going to know what your spending needs will be when you're in your 70s? The answer, of course, is that you can't know for certain. The best you can do is estimate what you'll need. There are 2 ways to estimate this number. One is the easy way, and the other is the hard way, of course. The easy method is to look at your current household expenses and use the rule of thumb that most folks will need about 70 to 80% of their current household spending for their financial independence spending. Done and done. The harder way to do this is, of course, the better way. Look at your current household expenses. If you have created a cash flow statement, those figures will be easy to come by. The next step is to modify the expenses by removing obvious expenses that will disappear when you cease working. For example, maybe you're on track to have your mortgage entirely paid off before retirement or financial independence, and hopefully your children will be fully launched by then. Talk about a good goal. So any kid-related expenses can be crossed off. You might also modify the retirement or financial independence expense number upward to reflect additional expenses associated with how you want to use your newly found free time. Travel and hobbies come to mind as examples. Health expenses might also increase, so include some additional funds for that unknown. One side note here, it is critical when doing this computation to only think in today's dollars. Don't try to assume what your expenses will be in the future. Think only in terms of today. If I was financially independent today, what would my expenses look like? Retirement calculators will help you do the inflating later. Trying it now will only confuse you. Once you've modified your expense number down, post-mortgage and kids, and potentially up for travel, hobbies, and health, apply that number as your retirement or financial independence expense number. Don't further adjust it down by applying that 70 to 80% ratio rule. The further away you are from your anticipated financial independence, the more buffer you need in your expense number. If you're in your 30s, for example, and plan to work until your 60s before retiring, That's a long time horizon. In that case, I recommend using 100% of what you're spending now, including your mortgage, as your retirement or FI expense figure. When you have your number, you can use a simple calculator such as the one on calculator.net to compute the pot of money needed to make financial independence a reality. Now you have a savings goal. Lifestyles tend to stick. The lifestyle you live now is quite likely the same lifestyle you'll have at retirement or FI. In my financial planning practice, we seldom see people who upgrade their lifestyle once they stop working. We sometimes see people slightly downgrade their lifestyle, but it's wise not to assume that you will too. Most lifestyle downshifts are due to a big career that required expenses, such as cars, clothing, and travel, expenses that won't be necessary once you finish your career. If you feel discouraged by the numbers you compute, remember you have a choice. One path is to live bigger now and either expect to downshift later or be forced to work harder and longer to fund your retirement or FI. The other approach is to choose to live small now in order to stockpile funds and make financial independence within reach. We never know what the future holds, so being prepared is your best bet. Determine what your financial independence pot of money should be, and then devise a plan to get there. Don't avoid planning for retirement just because you think you won't retire. You may work until your dying day, but what if you don't? Cover the what if by creating a goal to achieve financial independence someday. Ultimately, when that day comes, you'll have a choice to continue working or not. How nice is that? You just listened to the post titled "When You Don't Want to Retire" by Dawn Starks of SimpleMoneyPro.com. The first thing that came to mind for me while reading this post is that you can't possibly anticipate today the opportunities or challenges that will present themselves tomorrow. While I hear some people say that they aren't interested in financial independence because they love their work and they have no desire to retire, it's important to remember that working towards FI simply opens up options, retirement being one of them. I've never heard anyone regretting the flexibility that saving money provides, whether to navigate the challenging things that life throws at you, like a job loss, health scare, or divorce, or to seize the opportunity that life presents, like a business idea, the trip of a lifetime, or the chance to be home with your kids. If you decide to keep working even after achieving financial independence, you may even reinvigorate your love for your work. You'll know for sure that you're there purely because you want to be, not because you need to be. And that will do it for today. Have a great day and weekend. Thank you for listening, and I'll be back here tomorrow where your optimal life awaits.